Good evening and welcome to the City Commission meeting for Wednesday, January the 21st. And we'd like to welcome all the families here today and specifically our award winner that's coming up later, and all of the fabulous men and women of the Oregon City Police Department who are here in support of their colleagues. So we'd like to get started. Would you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Scott Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Adam Morrow.
Here.
And Mayor Denise McGriff.
Present. As you are able, would you please stand and join us in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. So the Oregon City Commission gets to do some pretty amazing things, but nothing, in my opinion, is more amazing when we get to have the oath of office for new police officers, and we get to see all of our other police officers. So I would like to turn this briefly over to the chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Good evening. As you said, this is an honor and a privilege to swear in our new officers. So with that, I'd like to call up our three newest officers. I'll talk about them, and then each one of them will get sworn in. So they can come up front. The first one is Mr. Christopher Burnett. Chris was hired with us on January 5th. He grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. He and his wife recently moved to Oregon just this past August, so they're new to Oregon. He graduated from Service High School and is looking to finish his associate degree. He enjoys hockey and is a big fan, and he enjoys everything about fishing. Tonight with him is his wife, Ashley.
Where's Ashley? Hi, Ashley.
Next is Ariana Powell. She was hired on January 6th. She grew up in Canby and graduated from Canby High School. She has an Associates of Arts from Clackamas Community College. She has a Bachelor's of Science from the University of Oregon. Outside of work, she enjoys fitness and wellness, live music, and traveling. With her tonight is her father, Tom, her mother, Kelly, her boyfriend, Braden, and her grandma, Sheila.
So where are you, family? Okay.
And then finally, we have Abraham Romero. Abraham was hired on January 7th. He grew up in Tualatin and graduated from Tualatin High School. He joined the U.S. Navy, where he was in the weapons department on submarines. Outside of work, he likes to watch the New York Mets.
Yay!
He likes running, playing chess, and spending time with his wife and his newborn son. With him, he has a lot of people here. His wife, Kyra, his son, Kanan, his father, Everardo, his mother, Natividad, sister Donna, brother Aaron, and so many other family and friends. And all three of them...
Raise your hands, folks.
All three of our newest recruits are going to the academy on February 2nd. So with that, I'll turn it over to you to get them sworn in.
I don't have to say much. So who would like to go first? Okay, good. I always like a good volunteer. So this is going to be pretty easy. You just need to fill in your name and you get to read the rest of it. So if you raise your right hand, please. And go ahead.
I, Christopher Burnett, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oregon. I will abide by the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics and the Department's rules and regulations while faithfully performing my duties as a police officer for Oregon City, Oregon.
Congratulations. These in my bag, so you get one.
Thank you.
You ready?
Yes. I, Ariana Powell, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oregon. I will abide by the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics and the Department's rules and regulations while faithfully performing my duties as a police officer for Oregon City, Oregon.
Congratulations. More women on the force. Go ahead, Abraham. It's okay, don't be nervous.
Yeah. I, Abraham Romero, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oregon. I will abide by the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics and the department's rules and regulations while faithfully performing my duties as a police officer for Oregon City, Oregon.
Congratulations. Okay, now you get to all sign your lives away. Do you have more than one pen?
I did one.
Okay, it's got to be the fancy one. so much. Anyway, thank you, family. Did you get all your pictures? So you can get some more of them. And thank you, the fan club in the back, and you for being here. Oh, we're staying for the next part. Yep. We need to stay down here.
I'm sure you want a picture, and I was going to,
Well, we can get back up.
all right. Mayor and Commission, we don't give these out very often. The Police Department has a Public Service Award, and that award is given to citizens that may be given, who distinguish themselves by highly commendable or unusual acts. Only acts that significantly rise above the expected norm for community service will be considered for this award. When we look at that, some factors that we take into consideration is that the citizen used proper judgment, discretion, did not precipitate or necessitate the act. The act was not reckless, and whether the citizen made a positive contribution to the law enforcement profession. This award, when we get an award like this, it was nominated by one of the patrol sergeants that was on scene, Sergeant Alan Farmer. He recognized this act, and he wrote up Mr. Jamin Clardy for this award, who's here with us. I'll call him up in a second. Once that's done, we get the award. Awards committee goes over it. They recommend the award, and then that's how we got here today. So I reached out to Mr. Clardy. This is a very distinguished award, and so I thought it was most appropriate that we do it today in front of the commission and in front of the city of Oregon City. So with that, I'd like to call up Mr. Clardy. And he hasn't seen this or heard it, but I'm going to read it because it means a lot. So on December 1st, 2025, officers from the Oregon City Police Department responded to a domestic disturbance at the Landing Apartments. The initial informant reported a physical disturbance between their mother and father. Noting that the father had been armed with a screwdriver. The informant further stated that the neighbor had intervened and pinned the father down. The second caller from a neighbor reported that someone across the hallway was yelling for help and screaming for someone to call 911. The neighbor stated that her boyfriend, Mr. Clardy, told her that the male had a screwdriver and was attempting to stab a female inside the apartment. Upon arrival, officers located Mr. Clardy restraining the male suspect inside the apartment. Through our investigations, our officers learned the suspect had forced his way into his ex-partner's apartment, thrown her to the ground, and attempted to stab her with a 12-inch Craftsman screwdriver. During this violent attack, the victim's child, unable to call 911, ran into the neighbor's apartment and begged Mr. Clardy for help. Without hesitation, Mr. Clardy immediately went to help, entered the neighboring apartment, and observed the suspect actively attempting to stab the victim. Drawing on his training from jiu-jitsu, Mr. Clardy engaged the suspect and successfully subdued him for several minutes, maintaining control until the law enforcement officers arrived on scene. Thanks to Mr. Clardy's quick actions, both the victim and her child escaped without injury. His willingness to confront a dangerous, life-threatening situation to protect complete strangers exemplifies extraordinary courage, selflessness, and public service. There is no doubt that Mr. Clardy's intervention prevented a serious injury or potential loss of life. His actions embody the highest ideals of community responsibility and bravery. For these reasons, Mr. Jamin Clardy has been awarded the Oregon City Police Department's Public Service Award. And here's the award. It says, in recognition of his heroic actions on December 1st, 2025.
Get out of the way, out of the background.
Want a picture?
Oh, we should get, oh, absolutely. We should all have a picture. I just can't walk as fast as you guys do right now. Just wait, though. I usually stand next to you.
Okay.
All right, on three, the blinking, 1, 2, 3. All right?
Would you like to say anything?
I don't.
What the recording does.
Okay, I just feel like a man's duty is to provide and protect, and sometimes in those instances, it's outside of your immediate household. It's unfortunate when those situations arise, but they did, and I owe the situation for not injuring anyone to jujitsu and being able to control someone. So I've been highly trained in jujitsu, and I owe my training to my black belt trainer, Pat Spate, out of Damascus, BTT. And so I feel like if I didn't have that training, that things could have been way worse. Someone else could have got injured. I could have got injured. And it just allowed everyone to be safe. So I'm happy for that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Hang up there, girl. Don't want to shake your hand. I guess they don't.
They did.
Anyway,
Oh, they did.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, anything, give us a call. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for keep helping keep our community safe. Thank you.
And his girlfriend is here, his daughter, and his daughter's friend.
Raise your hands. One person can make a difference, can't they?
That's incredible.
That's pretty awesome. Let's wait for everybody to exit stage left. So Chief Davis, do we have anybody that's getting done with the academy that's on their way back?
Yeah, Mr. Hudson Eric graduated last month.
Nice.
He's in field training, so you'll probably see him now. He's on day shift right now. So.
Okay, awesome. Of course. I know that we set a high bar, so this is great. Got 3 awesome people joining our force. And that's gonna be offset by the people that are gonna retire, which I don't even want to think about that. But it does come. It is gonna happen. All right. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have public comments. Do we have any? I don't have
Yes.
any.
Yes, we do have one from Mr. William Gifford.
Do you have a slip? What is it that you would like to enlighten us with this evening?
Mayor and Commissioners, my name is William Gifford. I live in Oregon City. So often it seems that people that come to make public comments have a bone to pick or something, but I needed to give some kudos to the city tonight. Number one was I enjoy getting my streets swept. And I always try to get out there and wave to the street sweeper and thank the driver so much. It feels so good, especially after a windy storm and there's all the leaves and there's all this junk all over the street, to come out and have it just spotless. And I think they do a wonderful job, and I just want to give kudos to our street sweepers. Secondly is my wife Joyce was coming home, it was after dark, and she noticed that there's a pump station at the end of our street, a sewer pump station. I think we've got about 15 of them or so. And there were some red lights on top of it that were flashing. She did not hear any noise, but she saw these red lights, and she came in and wondered if I knew what it was. And so I called the non-emergency number, and they said they would take care of it. Well, it was gone the next day, so I didn't think too much about it. But I came out, I guess, the next morning. No, it was a couple days later. It's not important. And there was a city truck parked by the pump station, and this man was doing his job. And I wanted to ask him about that, and he was very kind and very polite and very helpful. He mentioned that there should have been there's supposed to be a sign on these fences that go around the pump stations, and he said he would make sure that he got one out there. His name is Kevin, and apparently he's the new boss of the pump stations or whatever it is. But I was just very pleased with his professional attitude and helpfulness, and I think we've got some good people working with us for this city, and I'm proud of it. That's all.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. We've got great staff. Need I say more? They're fantastic. All right. Next on our agenda, we have a presentation by the Vice Chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. And whenever you're ready, come on up, Tim. Sorry, it's not quite the same audience, but we're here. We love you.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Dana Webb, Public Works Director, and I'm going to let Tim give the presentation on the Transportation Advisory Committee.
My name is Timothy Morgan. I'm a member of the committee since 2001, and I've been asked to give you a quick summary of the highlights. So I won't go into the details of it unless you want me to, based on the time that you have. So if I start talking too long, to let me know. Currently, right now, we have a total of 9 members that make up the committee, dealing with traffic advisory situations within the city limits. Currently, we have 2 open positions, and I believe they will be filled tonight. Some of the public comments that we've dealt with is the 20th plenty. We did a lot of research on that on several meetings. We spoke with the police department, and it was decided to pass on it due to the staffing issues at the time of the city police not being able to go out and enforce it. So the workaround that we've kind of come up with is when we have public comments that come in and speak about traffic issues in the different areas, we kind of take them on a case-by-case basis. The city, during the South End Road project, was able to purchase some temporary speed humps, and those are less expensive and they're not permanent, and those have been very effective that we have found to be able to control speeding and through neighbors, especially when during construction season where they're being diverted. It's a topic that we'll probably bring back up, but at the moment it's on hold until staffing and budgets and things like that. Some of the other things that we've worked on is the City Rover report, which you get a copy of. This is a artificial intelligence device that's connected to the street sweeper that maps the roads and notifies Public Works Department if we have potholes, so we can stay ahead of it, other than the citizens like myself who call and use the app and to remind them, hey, we got a pothole here. It's been going for 3 weeks now. But the city sweeper thing has been very effective for the Public Works Department, keeping those potholes under control. There was a 5-year pavement maintenance utility fund presentations that was provided by Josh Wheeler, the Public Works Assistant City Engineer. We had the McLoughlin Boulevard Enhancement Project and the 10th Street Tumwata Village program that was also worked with in the group. The Oregon City boundary growth boundary was another issue that came to our attention. the shuttle update by the Clackamas County Human Services, and the mapping of when they started the routes of the bus service on that. And I know since that has come out, they've changed the routes based on traffic flow of passengers and where they were all going to. Another one was the sidewalk infill. How does the public sidewalks get built? Dana has a lot to do with that. Before she was in her previous position, looking for grants to fulfill, for example, the Holcomb sidewalk project right there by the elementary school up to Sears development that's going on there. So now we have a complete sidewalk from our neighborhood, where I live at the top of Holcomb, all the way down the street now. So we don't have to have as many school buses running around that area.
That's Park Place?
Yes, in the Park Place neighborhood district.
I mean, I know it is, but you just said our neighborhood, and I'm not sure the
Oh, I'm
public
sorry,
knows what
yeah,
neighborhood
yeah.
that
Yeah.
particularly is.
Yeah, I mean, our neighborhood where I live is part of this thing. So she always kept me abreast of what was going on, because my neighbors always asked me, how long is it gonna take? Don't know. What else do we got here? The annual traffic count program, another update that when they choose specific neighborhoods to see what the traffic flows are, is conducted. This is an event that we go through with that. City events, construction projects, those are some of the other issues that we are dealt with. We have our monthly meeting frequency, which is now the second Thursday of the month, and it's every other month unless there's pending issues, then we'll go every month. The other issues that we went on are the parking code issues, working with the Public Works engineering staff to address parking code related issues, and the basic rule about no parking within 20 feet of unmarked crosswalks to help the access for people with disabilities. There's other project updates, which was usually with the the Assistant Public Works Director. That we usually get updates on city projects that are going on and issues that they've corrected at different times. Reduced speed sign request on 213 and Redlands Road. That was my request. That is a dangerous area. People think it's the Indianapolis 500 Speedway. But we did get ODOT to do a study on it. Took a little over 2 years to get them to drop it 5 miles. My goal was 10, but I'm happy with 5. So we're trying, I think that there has been less traffic accidents since that has occurred, because it was getting pretty bad, usually during the heavy traffic hours at night coming through that area there. There's, and part of that speed reduction is other areas of the city we look at by citizen complaints to see if there's areas that we need to readjust the speed limit, go through the process. Dana, again, is very knowledgeable on that and what we can and can't do, and working with ODOT because they control a lot of those areas that always seem to be of issue. The roundabout at Thayer Road and Maple Lane was a project that was provided by John Lewis at the time. And that was, we finished it in October, wasn't it? Yeah. That was October 24, sorry. The other program we get involved in is the street design standards, the changing rules about that, and what we can do, and along with working with the Planning Commission when they have issues on how is that going to affect other roads of Oregon City for access. Transportation revenue and capital overlay, another area we have been involved in. Winter weather preparation, that is an important one. And making sure that the streets that are necessary for traffic during snow events, ice events that are able to make through. And also to evaluate that the access roads leading to the major thoroughfares are clear so that we're not stuck. The other one was the Youth Advisory Committee meeting. That's also works with a lot of the members of the committee. And then we can go into detail on that. And those are pretty much the main issues that we have worked with. We asked for public comments. People come up and give us some inside information on areas that are need attention. Another one is visibility at intersections where there's too much vegetation blocking turn lanes so to avoid accidents and stuff like that. And that's about it. I think I covered that in time. Any questions?
I think you've set a very high bar, so I think we would like other committees to have a report. It's nice to be able to read it ahead of time, so thank you for that. I'll give you an obstructed intersection, Laurel Lane and Holmes Lane.
Okay. What was, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Laurel Lane and Holmes Lane. It's a matter of there's a chain link fence, but it's got arborvitae on it that's grown up higher than, and if you try to you have to like get out into the lane to be able to, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention is the Transportation's Advisory Committee's city goals, how we interact on that. I don't know if you got a copy of this. In section 4 and 5, which is goal 1 of the city, related to investing in the city facilities and infrastructure. Did you guys get a copy of that? Okay. And so we worked through all these about how we relate into the city's goals and pretty much covered them all for all in the top 5.
Thank you.
All right.
Any questions, gentlemen? I thought the report was very thorough. Go ahead.
2 things. I hope you don't give up on pursuing 20 is plenty.
I don't either.
That's my little commercial for that. The other thing, and I'm not sure if it's a Transportation Advisory Committee thing or maybe it's Ms. Webb and her department. You mentioned the Clackamas shuttle. I was looking at the routes of that and the TriMet routes since TriMet's proposing to make a change in Oregon City. 213 in Beaver Creek, there's now 400 apartments there. There is a TriMet stop on Beaver Creek, but that shuttle doesn't get anywhere close, and that shuttle hits employment areas, it hits, it goes over to the college, it hits the hospital, and I would love to see us request that route swing around and hit where all those apartments are, because those are the folks that in many cases need that service.
Why don't we ask the city manager to contact them and have them do a little presentation for us? Because I haven't heard one in probably 3 years since the thing. They came just before they started, and then we haven't asked them to come back, but I think that would be a great idea to have them come in.
Great.
Yeah, I put notes on that, and we'll definitely go ahead and address that. We did have members of that department a couple of years ago came and visited with us about it. It was like during COVID, and so there's been a lot of change. That complex you're talking about wasn't even finished or even started. It was in dirt move, I think, at the time. So that's definitely a good point. Do you know how many homes are in there, or how many housing units?
There's 2 complexes. One's like 170, the other's 107. One's 107 units, the other's 250, I think.
Okay.
You're talking about Las Flores and
Mill on Maple.
Mill on Maple.
Yeah, those
That's
2 together.
Exactly.
And I can tell you, I mean, I live 2 blocks further, and I can tell you that bus stop gets used a lot more than it used to. So there is a need there. So whatever you can do to help on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Dana right there, so. Adam?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is more a question for Dana. Since my favorite topic was brought up, which is the roundabout over in that area, I was wondering if you could provide an update as to where things stand with PGE in those negotiations.
So myself and the city manager have met with PGE and kind of shared where we're at, and it's currently in PGE's court to determine if they want to make adjustments to the roundabout.
That's where it was the last time.
It's fine by me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you guys again since I got to attend your last meeting, so thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have a presentation by Juliana Allen, Executive Director of the Downtown Oregon City Association. So I was going to see if your youngest wanted to come up here and sit with me for a while Mom does the presentation. Do you want to come up and sit with me while we listen to Mom? He goes, no. Okay. We have the assistants here. Are they getting time and a half today? Okay, come on, sit down so Mama can get started. No, don't climb over.
Nope, well.
That's an accident waiting to happen right there.
They are clearly very comfortable here.
Yes, we love it.
Not sure if you witnessed the crawling on the floor.
Well,
just a
the
minute
camera
ago.
was down there. That's why I was smiling, because I could see what was going on.
He
Anyway,
saw himself on the screen,
Uh-oh.
so that's how
That
that,
was all-
happened.
yeah.
Yep, and it's all downhill from there.
going out to thousands of people.
Yeah, right, 6. That probably is usually me,
You have
yes.
you have the clicker?
I don't have the clicker, actually.
May
May I have the
Jacob,
clicker, please, Jacob?
she needs the clicker.
Nope, do not do that. Thank you. Juliana Allen, Happy Valley, Oregon, Executive Director of Downtown Oregon City Association.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And Mayor McGriff and Commissioner Mitchell are lucky enough to see this presentation 2 times. I added the calendar of events, though, for Mike there.
Yeah.
Baby, please don't do that.
And it will be in color.
I'm just going to start talking. Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate being here, like always. It's always fun to give updates. And as I was prepping for this one, I was like, oh, we have some really cool stuff to share. So I'm really looking forward to giving this presentation and giving just the outline of what we have been up to at the Downtown Oregon City Association. So introduction, I always love to do this little bit of a reminder because it's easy to kind of, there's so many nonprofits and organizations and it's easy to forget what each one does. So the Downtown Oregon City Association is a 501c3 nonprofit that falls under the Main Street America umbrella. Our mission is community and commerce. So what does the downtown need? That is what we are there to try to do. Advocate for the businesses. Main Street America, we operate under 4 different pillars is what we call them. So everything we do is filtered down through first the mission, which is community and commerce. Second, it's filtered through the lens of which pillar does it fall under. So it'll either fall under design, which I'll go into all these in more detail, economic vitality, promotions, and then organization. So this is what the design committee has been up to. The goal of the design committee, I cannot read that, you guys. That's embarrassing. Enhance the physical and visual appearance of, downtown to support revitalization and safety. I'm going to be 40 this year, so we are going to be getting glasses here very soon. The picture right here is what the biggest accomplishment of that committee has been. We secured a grant through the Metro Enhancement Grant, and we were able to install uplights. And we're doing the project in phases. Okay, so we're installing uplights in all the tree wells on Main Street between 5th and 10th. It'll be a total of, I believe it's 40 48 trees, and we started with the block between 9th and 10th on Main, and we did that a couple of months ago. Proof of concept, okay, this worked, what did we learn? And then we were able to fundraise enough for the next section, so we just actually completed the second stage, which was all of 7th, and then half of Main Street, 8th on Main as well. So if you haven't been down there to see the lights yet, they look really good. The goal with this lighting project wasn't to scream, right? It wasn't to be this thing that really stood out. It was intended to blend in and add this level of ambiance that you wouldn't necessarily notice, but you notice it when it's not there. And it's interesting to walk downtown. I was downtown this weekend, and I was walking on 6th Street, no lights, and then I made it to 7th, and I was like, wow, it felt different. So we're really excited about this project, and we look forward to being able to continue it on, which no reason to believe that we won't be able to finish the project in the allotted time. Let's see, another thing that this committee worked on, there was a grant through Mount Hood Territory for a wayfinding project that we have applied for. We should know about that one in mid-February. So we worked with the new, the destination Oregon City, the new DMMO here in Oregon City, to try to get a cool project for a wayfinding thing. So we should hear about that in the next month or so. And, oh yeah, you might be aware that the association has also advocated for a 3-hour parking time limit change in the downtown. So thank you all for hearing all of our statements on that. Okay, and just more photos of the trees. Ryan, who works in the office with me, is a wonderful photographer, and he takes just great photos. So that was all his photos right there. Okay, Economic Vitality Committee. This one is one of my favorite committees, not that I pick favorites, but this is really about supporting the business district. It's like supporting the businesses in the district. So what do the businesses need, and what can we do to support them? So that looks like a lot of different things, right? Looks like relationship building with the property owners, relationship building with the business owners, just getting to know who they are and what they need, and what, where they're at in their business, and what can we do to advocate for them. And also it comes into play the vacancies. Like, we have just a handful of vacancies in the district, and so a lot of it is developing relationships with people that we want to see also in the district. One of my favorite projects that this committee is working on is a pitch deck, is what we're calling it. So one of the biggest questions is, why open a business in downtown? And it's so interesting talking to the different business owners, because you'll get everything from, here's a listed data, which is exactly why I'm going to open. And then you talk to another business owner and they say, well, there's something about it. So we're working, that committee specifically has quite a wide variety of skill sets, all the way from really good at narrative, really good at data. So we're going to see what we get when we pull it all together.
You're going to tell them the tagline that they came
Oh, I don't remember it. Do you?
I have it written down. Hang on.
Okay, thank you.
You keep going, and I'll let you know when I find it.
There was a really great tagline.
I wrote it down.
Thank you, Denise. Thanks. Okay, next one, promotion. This is definitely the easiest thing for people to see that we do. When people think of the Downtown Association, they tend to think of the really forward-facing things that we do. Amongst them is the First City Celebration, which kind of goes without saying. It's a really great community event, and we have been planning that event, started planning for that in September already of this year. So it is definitely an event that takes up a good portion of our time, because it's important to us to be able to do it right, to represent the city in a way that is all that it is, right? So we take that event very seriously, and we take planning for that event very seriously as well. So the other things that promotion committee works on is just how can we market the businesses and the district as a whole as well. We do that a lot through our social media. Do you have the line, Denise?
Yes, it was called,
Okay.
she said, Downtown Oregon City, there's just something about it.
Yeah. It's funny, because that is what I hear so often. It's like, I don't know why I opened, there's something about it. It's like, yep. And that tends to just kind of summarize it for a lot of people. And also, we do need some data as well, because that doesn't fly for everybody. So we're going to do a combination of things, because I'll sit here and tell you, there's just something about this town that everybody loves. And then somebody else will come in and say, okay, here's your numbers that support why you think this. So thank you, Denise. Yeah, I think that's enough on promotions. Perfect. Okay, here's our calendar of events. We have the calendar set for 2026. You'll see 3 wine walks. We do 1 per season, so spring, summer, and fall, and then the city-sponsored events as well for City Celebration, July 25th. So mark your calendars early for that, please. Trick or treat, and then holiday tree lighting is on there as well. All these are listed on our website now as well, so okay, we're good. All right, organization committee. I'm giving up on reading the goals, so I'm just gonna go off of memory here. Thanks, everybody. The biggest thing this committee has been working on is board recruitment, volunteer recruitment, and then succession planning. And I am very, I'm gonna use the word proud to say, we have a full board right now. So we have a full board, and we actually had more applicants apply for board positions than we had spaces opened. So that was pretty cool. That was quite a moment for us. We had our annual meeting just last week, I believe it was, and we had to get more chairs and add more table to the table. And it was interesting just looking around that room and being just quite in awe of how far this organization has come in just 2.5 years or so since I started. There's something else this committee is working on. We're working on diversifying our funding strategy. So one thing that we're going to be doing this year is a legacy donor program, previously known as Friends of Downtown. I just like the name Legacy Donor Program better, so we're going to go with that. Okay, looking forward for our goals for 2026. Again, I cannot see this, so I am just going off of memory. So we're gonna have our committees really dial in on their priorities and the action steps that they need. So the first meeting of the year for them will occur in February. Since after the annual meeting and all the new members came on. And that the intention of that will be like, this is what we have outlined to work on. This is what we're going to do. This is who's doing it. So that's something big for us. The Legacy Donor Program. Let's see. Key partnerships. Big on that one. Developing just different community partnerships and different organization partnerships as well. Oh, this one's closer, you guys. Okay, we're going to complete the Well-Lit Trees project. We have 2 more blocks to go. I'm not concerned about that at all. We're getting it down at this point. The goal is to secure funding for that wayfinding project. Something I didn't mention with that one is we found a design firm that recently did the wayfinding in downtown Portland recently. So the design firm is called Sparks & Sullivan, and they specialize in like downtown specific wayfinding. And so I'm really hopeful that we get this grant, because I think that would be a really interesting thing to partner with this specific design firm, the DMMO, and us all working together to see what we can come up with and it's more what the community wants, what do they need to be able to go from here to there. That's something we hear often is, okay, so many cool things here, so many great things. They only do one thing. So how can we get them to come here and go there and then go there, right? And that is the goal of the wayfinding project. Oh yes, outreaching to key targeted businesses we want to see in the downtown via the data-driven narrative. If it were up to me, it would be all narrative. I am very lucky to have a board of directors that has that complementary data side of things as well. Maintain open communication with businesses, identify avenues for increased engagement. Something we're kicking around is doing targeted work sessions for businesses. Again, what are the needs? What can we do to address the needs? Please no. I'm almost done, I promise. Thank you. Okay. Diversify funding, and then further refine our organizational branding. We are very fortunate. I'm sorry, this is funny. We're very fortunate to have on staff, Ryan, who does so much like photography and videography. He's incredibly skilled at that and has really taken the downtown brand and really refined it. So we're going to just further keep on going on that track. Elevate district tourism-based marketing initiatives. It's always on our mind. Okay, and check out this full page of board of directors. Something else I want to mention about the board of directors and the new people that we just put on the board. They're all business owners, and they represent industries that were not previously represented on the board. So we have Cassandra, who owns Corsilla Winery. She's the winemaker there. Jen Fox, she actually went through the BizPod program. She is an esthetician. So we have so much like service industries downtown, and it's important that we have them represented on the board. Kayla McCall, who's a local realtor, and then Ashley Gardner, he is one of the owners of McNulty and Berries. So we have quite a diverse board representing different sectors of the downtown, and with that, hopefully in Oregon City as well. So thanks for listening to the presentation twice, a couple of you, and watching some spinning children, everybody else. And I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions? Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. So I have two questions. The first is the key targeted businesses. So what are the key targeted business types that you're hoping to see more of?
It depends on the space that's vacant, really. So every downtown wants a pretty solid mixture of restaurant and retail. Ours has a lot of service businesses, right? So we kind of have this unique mix of restaurant, retail, and service. If you look at the specific mix of our downtown, we are a little bit heavier on the restaurant side of things. So ideally, we are looking to attract more retail, but it's so space dependent. Yeah. As we wouldn't take a space where Mesa Fresca used to be and want to turn that into retail. That would be not a good choice. Yes, my dear. Okay. Yeah, I know. So yeah, we need to add in more retail, but really depending on what space we're looking at.
Great, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. The other one is, prior to the courthouse moving, in addition to the foot traffic that it brought downtown, a lot of people were concerned about the secondary effects of the potential for law offices to move. Have you seen that to be the case?
Yeah, we have. The offices are another sector that has really, people aren't going into offices as much, and that is something that's definitely going to have to be looked at with a closer eye, because we have, it's not a ton of spaces, but like the Masonic Lodge, right? Like it's full of office building, that building is like primarily offices. And so I think it's going to take a little bit of reimagining on everybody's part. I think the game has changed as far as offices and not specific to lawyers. So it reassessing and then reevaluating and seeing what everybody's open to doing in that way. We met one of the property owners for that building a couple months ago or so, and so we have a conversation started there on what are we going to do here.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. And with that presents an opportunity potentially to reimagine what second floors look like on downtown.
Absolutely. Yep.
More specifically as it relates to our housing crisis. Nationally, I know the conversation about office to residential it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that's worthwhile that can help promote a healthy and vibrant downtown. Yeah. Which is, again, one of the reasons why I'm excited about the courthouse project is actually getting people who will be living on our main street will be very helpful.
Yeah, it's the mix, right? Like we want a mix of all the things, and it's really exciting that we'll be adding in residential because it just is going to add to that mix, right? Makes it more balanced.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd like to say something. I just want to thank you and Ryan and your board for all the work that you've done. The events over the last year have been great. And I know that, knock on wood, it appears that the impact of the courthouse leaving has not been as big a negative. And I know probably part of that is is the cheerleading and the hand-holding that you and Ryan and your board have done.
Thank you.
To keep everybody rowing in the same direction down there. So just thank you. And it was great to come to that board meeting and have the room be full.
Wasn't that cool?
It didn't used to be that way.
No, I know. I mean, I was on the board prior, when I had my business down there, I served on the board, and it was a very different organization, and I don't take that lightly. We are supported by you all, and we're supported by a great board, and I don't take that lightly, and I'm just very appreciative of all the support we've gotten from the community, from the city, from everybody, the businesses, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good?
Yes, we can
Anybody
take
else? Okay.
our
Thank you, guys.
fidget boys home. Next time, we will make you do the presentation, so you're going to have to behave. All right, let's move on to our item number 6, which is the adoption of the agenda and the consent agenda. Is there a motion, or is there anything people want to talk about on there?
I would like to pull item 7D.
Okay, the stay survey.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda except for item 7D.
I'll second.
Commissioner Scott Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Adam Marl.
Aye.
And Mayor Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I just want to make one addition to, before we get to item D, is that item A is one of our newest BizPod graduates, and she is going to be opening a business. Matter of fact, I coincidentally reached into my pocket and I realized I had her business card. She's going to be moving into the historic Ely Brothers store at 7th and John Quincy Adams. And I think Midtown is very excited to have that space filled up. It's already got a barber and a wealth management advisor group in there and some apartments upstairs. So it will fill out that building. And it was one of the State of Oregon's Diamonds in the Rough projects. And so that's how it got rehabilitated. So it's just great that we are helping her move forward. And I look forward to one of her events that she's going to have there. All right, so let's, Tony, do you want to talk about item D? Or, excuse me, Alex, excuse me, sorry.
What's the question about item D?
Yeah, so I just wanted to pull this because the one issue that I have with the scope of work is that it includes a mention of the external DEI task force. And to my recollection, the commission had not yet reached consensus on what that was going to look like. And so I had a hard time with approving this contract with that in it before we had determined what the future of that was going to look like.
Well, I want to add something to your concern, but not acknowledge, I'm acknowledging your concern, but I don't agree with it. Because we had a major vacancy in our personnel department, I've spoken with probably half of the existing DEI committee about us getting together, but I said we had to wait until HR was fully staffed because Patrick was trying to do everything, and we had 3 reviews for executives folks, and he was just kind of up to his eyeballs. But when I talked to him a week ago, he's in the process of trying to pull that together so we can meet with them and ask them about the questions that you and I had and seeing what we were going to do, what they wanted to do versus what they gave us, what they'd like to do, and what we feel we can do. That's the next step. And it's unfortunately got delayed because circumstances outside of our control.
Right, and so that's where I have the concern about approving the contract in this dollar amount before we know what we're asking of the consultant to do. Like I said, I'm fine with everything else that's in the contract. And I think where I keep coming back to my struggle is how we can actually do something that will impact our residents' lives. And I still have a hard time with the idea that a committee, and I'm talking about the external citizen task force, that a committee is going to meaningfully make a difference on this issue outside of the commission chambers. Historically, the makeup of this body has not necessarily been very diverse. People don't show up to those meetings. People don't show up to our meetings. And so what I'm trying to figure out is how, well, thank you. We appreciate it. I was not meaning to erase you. But what I'm trying to say is we need to have a fuller discussion about what our dollars can do that can reach people where they are. And I'm going to repeat something that Commissioner Smith brings up a lot, which is that in our community survey, our residents are very, very clear that they want to see more community events. When I look at our community survey, I don't see more committees as something that is prioritized by our residents. And so I think that there's an opportunity for us to use the dollars that we would otherwise be spending on a committee that meets quarterly to instead focus those dollars on outward-facing cultural events like we had a couple years ago that were really, really well attended, and that can actually spread education and the values of what it means to be a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community beyond the walls of this chamber. And that's what I really just want to reiterate again, is that all of my concerns I've had about this has not been about trying to take an axe to DEI. It's been about trying to find a way for it to impact our residents. So that's where I am, and I was anticipating an opportunity to talk about what those alternatives might look like prior to approving a contract, and so that's why I wanted to pull this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everything Commissioner Morrow just said. And I've said this before, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. There are kind of three buckets. There's our staff dealing with their fellow staff members. There's our staff dealing with the public. And there's members of the public dealing with members of the public. The first two is important for us. And we have a good program in place. What that third one looks like is where I really get concerned about, as Commissioner Morrow said, putting money into supporting a committee rather than what do we want that to look like before we start funding an external committee that we don't know what we want it to do or what it can do.
Scott?
So I'm wondering if it's possible, given that uncertainty of what this task force would look like, if that's the direction we go, is it possible that we pull that piece from the contract, approve the other pieces of it, and then revisit the task force and the funding that would have been associated with it at a later date and kind of determine where we want to go from there?
Yeah, it's no problem to pull it from the scope. I don't see why that would be an issue. When, we put out the RFP, the way the scope was laid out, it was definitely organized by, activity and section. That was one of the ones that was, fairly standalone. It was that in the work groups. I don't think it'd be too terribly challenging to just pull that out.
Okay.
So I was going to say,
I just don't know. I don't know the exact dollar amount it's worth, off the top of my head. So I can't tell you exactly how much it's going to take out of the project, but we could still easily take it out of the scope. I just don't know how much money you're talking about.
I would not support taking the dollar amount because we don't know what it is. I'm sorry, but I just disagree with you guys. I see this mainly as city internal focused. And I didn't see a whole lot in here that said that the DEI task force was going to rise from the dead and start doing a whole bunch of stuff. Again, the conversation that we need to have is not within this scope that you and I agreed that we would do with them. And like I said, as I've talked to the people, I said, this is what we want to do. And I just need to get you guys together so that we can have this conversation.
So actually it is within the scope of work, the external DEI. And like I said, I don't have a problem with the internal stuff.
I mean, I see it under
Commissioner Mitchell reiterated that as well.
It says under focus area number 4. So I see that. I just don't think it's as large as what you are anticipating. Maybe again, I don't want to.
I acknowledge the fact that it's supposed to be a quarterly meeting that's called out in the scope of work, and that we need to figure that out prior to. So I don't think I'm overinflating what it is, because I've acknowledged several times about the amount of meetings that are expected to happen. But as it relates to the work that we expect to be done in those quarterly meetings, I don't know that it's necessary to have to wrangle all the schedules of the committee members to try and get a meeting, because they've already told us what they would like to do in their presentation to us.
Not all of
and
them are gonna be available.
with respect, when I look at all of the things that they've identified for us, it's hard for me to see how we can justify the expenditures for what they would like to do. The biggest one, I think, is the compilation of the cultural calendar, which gets to my alternative idea that I brought up first. But apart from that, it feels like that's a lot of money and a lot of time for some items that don't rise to that level that could otherwise be handled in a different way. I mean, it's only in the government where you can justify spending tens of thousands of dollars to come up with a calendar. I mean, I have a really hard time with that, where we can have those conversations as a commission, which is where I am.
Well, somebody make a motion if you want to do something and you want to take that particular part of the scope out, make a motion to that effect.
All right.
Till we figure out what we're going to do.
I will move to approve item 7D, consultant services for stay survey follow-up and DEI initiatives project, with the removal of the external DEI task force provisions in the scope of work.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Commissioner Scott Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Adam Marl.
Aye.
And Mayor Denise McGriff.
No.
Motion passes.
All right, let's move on to the next agenda item, is that we do not have any, well, let's see. Is our first reading of ordinance number 261005, that's a public hearing?
No, it is not.
No, it is not. Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't have it under mine. So we have no public hearing scheduled for this evening. So let's move to item number 9, which is the first reading of ordinance 261005, minor sidewalk code update regarding notice statements. And this is something that we have discussed to, and it's now back before us to get going. So are there any additional questions or concerns about the notice that we had talked about for the sidewalks?
Pardon me, this is completely different.
Yeah.
This is changing the procedure so that the city recorder is not involved in,
Yes.
doesn't have anything to do with the other work we've done on sidewalks.
Well, we talked about doing this.
No, this is different.
So the commission has not discussed this before. This was something that came up rather recently. We discovered that a statement should be being written and provided to the city recorder's office on the time, manner, and place of a notice for a sidewalk issue. We realized that that hasn't been normally part of our procedure, and so we wanted to just simply remove that from the code. So
Yeah,
that's what we brought for you
makes sense when I
to consider.
discussed it previously, so. Questions? No questions? It's clear to everyone what this is doing? Okay, let's have a motion, please.
I'll move to approve the first reading of ordinance 26-1005.
Second?
Ordinance number 26.1005, an ordinance of the City of Oregon City amending notice statements for the sidewalk code.
Let's have a motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Scott Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Adam Marl.
Aye.
And Mayor Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, next on our agenda, on item 9B, is we had asked for some feedback and follow-up on what would be necessary to declare an emergency, if we so choose to do that. And we have a memo from our city attorney, plus the staff report. So whoever wants to take this, Mr. Conkle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Commission. At your last meeting, you asked me to put together a little background about emergency declarations and what they do why local government might declare an emergency and the processes for doing so. And so I put together this little 4-page memo, just at a high level. State law and the Oregon City Municipal Code allow the city to declare an emergency, and that can be done immediately. It doesn't require, we have to pass an ordinance or a resolution, but it doesn't require 2 readings or a 30-day enactment. It can happen, and it has happened in Oregon City on a Sunday at 10 a.m. On Christmas Eve, it has happened, so it just, and it doesn't take a full commission. It even allows the city manager to declare an emergency with follow-up by the city commission if the commission weren't available. So I just wanted the commission to know that they're fairly easy to implement. I think the real purpose of an emergency declaration is to suspend some rule or requirement that otherwise would be unusual to suspend. So curfews or removing people from an unsafe building or things that local governments don't ordinarily do, but they need to do in the case of emergency. It also, another critical thing that is important, I think, for the cities that have declared a state of emergency with respect to ICE activities is it makes available funding, state funding, federal funding. It allows cities to move funding as may be necessary to respond to an emergency. So in the examples I looked at from other jurisdictions that have declared emergencies, they've identified funding and made it available to certain departments within their purview to address things, whether or not they actually allocate the funds or just say, we are setting aside this amount of money. I did not find an emergency ordinance that did not include that component, except for Multnomah County, which has seemed to organize sort of an emergency management response group. That's the only ordinance that I found that didn't include sort of this money piece. Most of the ICE ordinances I reviewed, or emergency declarations relating to ICE that I reviewed, included most of the things that you've already implemented in your resolution from December 2539, talking about following sanctuary city laws, staff training, and prohibiting the use of city funds. I mean, those sorts of things are in these other emergency declarations, so I didn't see much point in doing that again in the scope of an emergency declaration. The other thing that I think it's important to point out is that in adopting a declaration like this, you have to have an end date. And you have to identify it, and you have to come back, and you can extend it, certainly for months and months and months, but you have to remember to come back and extend it and keep it alive for as long as you want to. So that's just something to keep in mind as you consider this. This is a little bit beyond the scope of my memo, but I can tell you I meet with a statewide Oregon City attorneys and county attorneys group. They meet every other week, and I've been joining them, and the conversation is ICE response all the time. Everybody's looking at ways to address this. I know the legislature's got some bills introduced. So I think everybody's got their eyes on this issue. And I'd be happy to continue to brief the commission on sort of things that I learn about this if you're interested. But that's my report on emergency declarations. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I didn't have any questions. I thought it was very thorough, and it was made it much clearer than what I read in the state statute a couple of weeks ago. In talking to some members of our community who have asked us to do this ICE-related emergency response, I said to them, until we are aware that there is a need to do this. I said, I don't see that there's any reason for us to do it. And I did refer to the resolution, and I mentioned to them they could get a copy of it. It was, we discussed it quite thoroughly. I just don't want to do something that we don't need to do. And I guess the other thing too is that, I've talked to the chief, and the report says that the police department has heard, but I can't get anybody to tell me specifically who's come up to me and says, oh, I heard that, they were here or they were here. I said, can you tell me specifically whether they were there? And that's not, I'm getting a lot of hearsay, or we heard, or whatever. And so when I talked to you, you had the same response, that you were not aware of any specific response by that agency in our community.
They sometimes notify dispatch that they're in the area. Doesn't tell us what their operations are. We are aware of one after the fact where we presume, took someone into custody. There's a vehicle left, but we weren't involved in that. So they don't tell us when they're doing their missions ahead of time, but we sometimes hear things after the fact, but they don't involve us.
Well, I know, but all I've gotten from community members is a lot of hearsay. And I understand, because, now that any car that looks weird to them, they're telling me, oh yeah, that might be, this, that. I said, if we do something, it is going to be through we're going to be responding to something. And I said, I don't feel comfortable with us doing something that we don't need to do when we've already pretty much covered it in the resolution.
Yeah, and there was one incident outside the jail where they did something on Clackamas County's property too, so.
But they were in our city, though.
In our city, yeah, that I'm aware of. But other than that, there's not many that I'm aware of.
Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you for this information. I think it clarifies a lot of what I was trying to communicate at the last meeting, which is that I think, like the mayor, and speaking to the people who have been advocating for this, I think there's been a misunderstanding from folks about what a state of emergency is. A state of emergency is something that allows us to do something different than outside of the regular course of order. It doesn't mean that it's any more or less prioritized than the resolution that we already passed, and that it means more or less to us as a commission and how it reflects our values. So I don't think that we're at the position yet, especially given the financial position that we're in and that government's everywhere in. However, I do just want to reiterate my support for the resolution that we passed. As an immigrant to this country, as I think probably the only immigrant in this room, it's something that I feel very strongly about. And I posted a very lengthy post on my City Commission Facebook about this because I knew I would have a lot of people reaching out to me asking me why I support this, because a lot of people know where I stand on political issues. But my response to that would be is that as someone who believes in limited government and as someone who believes in local control, everything that we're seeing on the streets goes against that. And anyone who claims to believe in those values ought to be appalled by those actions as well. So not only my political ideology, my faith, but my belief in local control and the fact that we are going to continue to uphold state law. I had some people saying, well, that resolution was just virtue signaling.
What?
Virtue signaling.
What does that mean?
Just basically trying to show off. Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Which, I mean, granted, whether we pass that resolution or not, our police was still going to uphold state law. So I guess there is something to be said about that, but it reaffirms where the Oregon City elected officials stand on the issue, and I think our residents deserve to know that. And so that's where I am. This isn't to say that it isn't rising to the level of more emergency than what we already think, but just the fact that I think that there is a misunderstanding of the verbiage.
Yeah, when I explained to people what exactly an emergency declaration was, I got oh, I didn't know that. And I said, we are not going to do it just because everybody else is doing it. We are going to do it because we, as you stated, we are committed to this and we believe it. But again, we got the cart before the horse. We don't have this act. I mean, if we were Woodburn or Hillsborough or, that's a whole different story. We are not. And I did get one comment from a citizen that said, well, why aren't we upholding the federal law? And I said, well, we have an obligation to uphold the state law. And I said, we do have the right as citizens to dissent if we don't agree with something. And I said, that's where we are right now. Mr. Mitchell, did you have something you want to add?
Well, I was just going the fact that we can essentially, we can respond essentially immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it becomes necessary.
Yes.
To me, makes it not necessary to do now.
Well,
Right. Yeah, I agree, and I really appreciate this report. It was incredibly informative and helpful, in understanding this process. And to your point, while we do have some, reports, and it sounds like a couple incidences of ICE activity in Oregon City, I would also say that it is not the sustained and coordinated activity that we're seeing in some of our surrounding communities. And elsewhere. And so what I would be curious about is, since we can theoretically enact the state of emergency at any time, and given that we are seeing just an increase in ICE activity, and this doesn't seem to be stopping, would it be prudent for us to discuss, if we were to declare a state of emergency, what might that include? So that way, were that to come up where, there are coordinated ICE raids happening in our community, we would essentially be able to enact, should we so choose, a state of emergency sooner. I don't know, just throwing that out there.
so you're looking at the what if.
The what if, right? Is it worth having a what if discussion? Should we have to go that route? Or should we decide to go that route?
Let me quickly put that on the table for the moment and punt to Mr. Smith in case he has something that he would like to add to where we are right now in our commitment to 2539.
Oh, well, I agree with what's already been said. I guess, because if something happens, whether it's an emergency meeting that we have, and, we can do that. I think sometimes we can even do that over the phone or meet here, but whatever, or Zoom to do an emergency. But along your point, it's like, okay, well, maybe we should, think about what are the things that, if we start seeing, might hint to us to even think about it. What are the things are we looking for that might happen in the city? Does it mean that, we start seeing large protests that, cause overtime for police, or, and those are things we've all dealt with before, and you without necessarily going to an emergency. But there's definitely been times where we've had events or protests on multiple sides of an opinion or topic that know has affected our police department, and massive amounts of extra funding that we've had to provide to protect all these different things, and we could see that again.
I don't think when we had the situation at Clackamas Park, I don't think we declared an emergency.
I don't know
What?
if we
Did
did.
we?
I think we did at
Did
that.
we?
Yeah, I'm talking about all the other. We did on that.
You declared a riot, that's what I recall.
Yeah.
I think
So
that was through
yeah.
the state of emergency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I remember that.
I'm just referring to
I
kind
remember
of the
call
other,
that I got.
events like Pride or other, marches or various things. But we could say, okay, if we get to a point where we're noticing that kind of a response at a certain level, like the police department could flag us saying we're starting to reach the point where we're going outside of our budget to, deal with this, that's when we start kind of flagging, oh, maybe this is something we need to think about.
So do you have any points that you think would help trigger, that would trigger? I mean, is there something you thought of that, if two or more, we have two incidences with that agency that,
No, and that's where, I was saying, and it doesn't even have to be tonight, just having a discussion of, to Rocky's point, what would potentially be happening in the city for us to consider it, and then what are some things that we, would consider doing as a response?
Go ahead.
So I think just given the complexity of the issue and all the different opportunities or different avenues that this could unfold, I hesitate to try and prescribe what a response would be. I think that the last couple weeks are a good example of the fact that when it comes to this very emotional and complex issue, that there is the need for cooler heads to prevail. You have the instance in Minneapolis with the murdering of an innocent woman, and then on the other hand, you have what happened in Portland the other week, where we had a lot of people with the exact same reactions to the Minneapolis, only to find out that these people do have ties to violent gangs. And so there's the need for us, I think, to be more specific to whatever instance might present itself, given the variety of things that could be going on. And so that's where I am on that.
I just don't think we're going to be able to second guess what might happen. I mean, obviously something that I'm concerned about is that, if even, one of our citizens gets snatched off the street for whatever reason, that's concerning to me.
Right.
The other thing that I'm concerned about too is that they seem to be targeting people, and I happen to be brown, and I'm not really excited about the fact that they're targeting people because of their color. And that makes me very nervous.
And I just don't know not only what would we do, but what could we actually do, given our jurisdiction and given our budgetary constraints. If we are to go down that road where we're trying to decide how we would respond, we need to first determine how we could respond that would be appropriate for us.
I think it's something that we can think about. I don't think we're going to come up with any hard and fast answers, because every situation is different. And, to my way of thinking, when I'm making a decision, I look at risk, and I don't think we know what those are at this point in time. I think there's just too many unanswered questions that we don't know. And I don't want to try to second guess something, because the minute you start doing that, it'll be something else. And we could end up making a decision that we don't have all the information. So I think we can think about it, we can ponder it, and I think we're going to wait and see, and let's hope that it does not happen in our community. I know in talking to colleagues in Newport, there's a lot of anxiety right now in that community. Also, conversation with the people in Hillsborough, there's a lot of angst, and it's, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, and I don't wish it on our community.
Chief, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but your officers use license plate readers?
Yeah, we do have some in our cars, yes.
Okay. How is that information protected from others that we might not want to have it?
That information is just ours. It's just held within it's through a company that does our body cams. They do our tasers. It's Axon. They do our car cameras. They do some of our software. But that information is ours. We have to then give that information. So many jurisdictions around us have the same stuff. So let's just say Clackamas County. If we can't access Clackamas counties. We have to contact Clackamas County and say, hey, maybe we're looking for this robbery suspect. This is our license plate. Can you search and see if it's been in there? We don't give them our information. They don't get our information. We have to make a request. There has to be a legal reason for that.
Okay, could a federal agency make that request?
They could.
Yeah, I imagine they could. They haven't.
And how would we respond?
It depends on what the request would be. Again, it's a hypothetical of could it be? We work with many federal agencies. We have good partnerships with many of them, including the FBI, right? So I guess it depends on what that is, right? If it involves anything to do with immigration, no, we're not releasing that without a court order or the legal reason to do that. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Would there be any possibility we would not obey a court order? You don't have to answer that. It's a hypothetical. It's a hypothetical.
let's not
No,
speculate.
I'm not expecting you to answer it.
You would take it to the next court.
That's right.
You would appeal it.
Yeah.
But
We're
let's not speculate.
No, I'm not trying to speculate. I'm just, we have to do, again, it has to do with our local control. It has to do everything with protecting our community members. And, we're not going to give somebody up just because somebody asks. Anything else? We have city manager communications.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Oh, well, you do.
Are you going to let me know what I have?
Yeah, you're
What
going to
do I
be,
have?
you're going to be making your annual appearance.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
He's rolling his eyes.
Presenting at the Oregon City Business Alliance next Tuesday at 11:30. So,
Did you, anybody sign up to go? I know you and I did, but anybody else? No, you're in school. Unable, okay.
I'm in school.
You're working, okay. So Mike, we got to carry the flag. You'll try to behave yourself. I can't guarantee what I'm going to do, so.
Now I kind of want to go.
I'll see if I can cause, I'll see if I can cause a commotion just for Rocky. I'll say, okay, this commotion is going to be dedicated to Rocky Smith Jr. Right up there. Commissioners. Okay, besides our fantastic event that's going to happen on Saturday, so everybody will be get to say something if you would please. And if you can, get your t-shirt ahead of time. I already modeled it. I'm wearing doing the branding as usual.
What time is the swim? 2 o'clock.
12 to 2 is the open swim, so we can take Commissioner Wilson on an open swim with us. We'll have a commissioner-only swim.
I will be at the pool.
We'll take him on an open swim. How about if we get you your very own water wings or a floaty?
That would make me feel better. I appreciate
Can
that.
we have floaties in the pool?
Well, we're going to make an exception for Commissioner Wilson.
Oh.
We need to pass a resolution for that?
Yeah, we need to pass a resolution, yeah. Do you want a swan, or would you like a clown?
I'm
or-
pretty open.
Okay, all right, so keep your eye out for a floaty for Commissioner Wilson. Other than that, I'd like to appoint Emma Lugo and Gregory Stoll to the Transportation Advisory Committee. I've participated in their interviews, and I'm particularly excited about Emma being on there. She is a member of the Clackamas County Pedestrian Advisory Group, which we have not had anybody talk to us about that, and she can provide insight to us on what they're thinking, and she can give them our thinking. I did send out this last week after our last meeting, several people expressed interest in this Clackamas County Community Advisory meeting process that they're having involving their TSP, and I know staff is involved, but I specifically asked Mr. Trent Wilson that was there anyone from Oregon City area that had applied to this, and unfortunately they have not gotten back to me, so I guess I have to follow up. I'm concerned that things that our community has talked to us about in terms of county roads need to be on both sides, not just staff advocating, but we need some public members advocating. As you know, they had their first meeting virtually on the 13th, which was our work session day. So I had requested that if they have a follow-up for our area, please do not do it on a day we have a work session so that we could attend if we wanted. Couple of things I wanted to...
If I could real quick on the county TSP.
Yes.
I think one thing that's been very frustrating for city staff is that the city's position, or the county's position, is that any of their county roads in city limits will not make it into their TSP, even though they're their jurisdiction and their responsibility.
And I brought that up.
I would hope that you, as elected officials, would continue to bring that up. It's really hard to understand how those are city responsibilities. I mean, someday we'll take them over, but...
And I don't see how it satisfies goal 12.
It doesn't.
I mean, I just don't, I don't see how that meets goal 2 in coordination. I don't see how it meets goal 12, which is transportation and the transportation planning rule, what every jurisdiction is supposed to plan for their own roads. And I understand that the roads are within the city, but they are owned and operated and managed by the county. Yeah.
The other thing that I did bring up to hopefully I just didn't lose my train of thought, but had to do with transportation, was that, that the county needed to provide better access to their processes, and that, you know, don't throw it on us at the last minute and say, oh, we need somebody, and oh, we couldn't find anybody, so they just move on. And I did mention to Commissioner Savas, I said part of the TSP issue, the one thing that's outstanding is that they still have a condition of approval for the courthouse involving a roadway. And I wanted to ask how they are doing on meeting that condition of approval from the design review for the Clackamas County Courthouse. Because we allowed them to move ahead with occupancy and other things on the condition of that particular standard that we put in there with regard to Redland Road and 213, et cetera, et cetera.
Dana, you want to come up and talk a little bit about it? We've been in negotiations with the county and ODOT. One of the fixes is a triple left from Redland onto 213. ODOT's reviewing that proposal to see if they'll accept that as a fix. Trying to come up with a project that improves the level of service, but is also, you know, affordable, not the whole cost of the intersection improvement, the interchange improvement right there. You know, another option that I think the county is considering is to remove it from the financially constrained list, which would then allow them to request, kind of like we did at Beaver Creek in 213, alternative mobility standards, which would, you know, essentially means we'll accept more congestion at the intersection rather than making improvements. So we continue to try to negotiate with both, trying to come up with a project that works at that location.
So
I don't know if, did I miss anything or mispronounce it, misstate anything?
So what do we do if we can't come to some reasonable resolution? It is a condition of approval of their project. Is it just hang out there? Do we tell the county, I'm sorry, get out? You know, we're going to take away your occupancy. I'm being facetious, but it just bothers me. I mean, we did everything we could to bend over backwards to help them get to where they needed to go. And I know that they are telling me that they agreed to that under duress. I said, that's BS. I said, this is the reality on the ground. I don't know if any of you have been up to the new courthouse parking lot during the day. That parking lot is already full. So we know there was an increase in traffic that's coming up there. I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah, their own traffic report said it did. This wasn't duress. This was their own work.
Yeah, well, I know. And I remember I got chewed out by Chair Smith about something that their traffic engineer said. And I said, you need to read your traffic report.
It's not ideal.
I know it isn't, but I mean, we're trying.
We continue to try to negotiate with the two agencies who have jurisdiction and responsibility for that corridor, the state and the county, of which we're even willing to put in additional funding to try to get some fix there. So I think it'll be another one of those areas that we focus on, like we did at Beaver Creek in 213, to try to get, you know, the free right movement off Beaver Creek onto 213 northbound. It's just, it takes time, and it takes lobbying and identification of funding, and you're well aware of where the state is on transportation funding right at the moment.
So much fun. Speaking of, our favorite topic.
Because I was reminded of some updates to that, which folks may have seen in the news, which is that I already talked about how the governor has come out in support of repealing her tax. But earlier this week, an attorney general's opinion from the Great Depression era resurfaced that basically said that you cannot repeal them if they have qualified for the ballot. And so the Oregon DOJ and the Secretary of State are looking into it because that is a very old ruling, and there has been case law since then, obviously, but that just adds another wrinkle to where we are. But I mean, yeah.
Can hardly wait. All right, well, did you want to add anything to what Tony said?
No, I'll just add that the city's been working with ODOT and the county participating in the conversations, and those continue on. And so the county is, I think, taking the stance that we're struggling to get ODOT to approve the triple lefts. And so they're looking at what does this secondary path look like, which is removing the project from the Metro Regional Transportation Plan financially constrained list, which means then they could move forward with alternative mobility targets at that intersection, at which point they would no longer need a capacity increasing project, and they would request a modification to their condition of approval.
Okay. All right, thank you. I wondered at some point in time, could we have an update at this commission, not the Urban Renewal Commission, on where we are with Thimble Creek? Because it sort of has fallen off the wagon. And I did get it right this time. Then the other request about having somebody from Clackamas County shuttle come and tell us what's happening. And that's all I had. So we're going to try to get everybody out of here in the next 5 minutes. So we are adjourned.